Well, two separate families who have children with autism say their kids have been dismissed from daycare because of a severe shortage of early childhood educators on the Avalon. It's caused the cancellation of inclusion support programs. And the province's Autism Society says dozens more are in the same spot. Here now's Heather Gillis has this feature report.
3.5-year-old William Lomatang is at home having a snack. He should be at daycare, but he was dismissed in January, a move that blindsided his mom, Kristen Parsons Lomatang.
And then one day my husband went to pick him up at the daycare, and we were advised that he was being discharged due to lack of staffing and resources.
It gave Parsons Lomatang only a week to find an alternative. But as any family knows, finding daycare right now is difficult. Spots are sparse and wait lists can stretch up to 2 years long. Things are even tougher for Parsons Lomatang because William has autism and needs an inclusion support worker.
We were told that that inclusion worker was going to fill another spot and that they would have to look and recruit for an ECE level 2.
A blow for her family, who moved to Paradise last year from Western Labrador because she couldn't find daycare there for William. Autism services were lacking, and they didn't have a family doctor. Since attending daycare in St. John's, she says William has flourished.
He went from a little guy who had challenges with self-regulation, transitioning, verbal skills, even eating, to being a boy that could go to daycare almost 7 hours a day, to being able to go in and outside without very limited temper tantrums, and being able to socially engage to the point he could then request songs like Bad Bad Black Sheep, something he never did in the home.
Now Parsons Lomatang says William is regressing. She says she's tried calling hundreds of daycares and day homes, tried to hire a nanny, and even had her mom come in for 6 weeks to help. But she still can't find a long-term solution. And with all avenues exhausted, the family is now facing difficult choices.
Either one of us gives up our employment, our careers that we've worked very hard to get, or potentially leave the province that we love. And that's difficult for us because as a mom and a dad, when you are given the gift of a child and that child's laid on a mom's chest, you say at the end of the day, you're going to do everything in your possibility to give them the best life.
Now she's considering moving the family again, this time to Calgary, where the family visited last week.
Within the first week, we were able to find 3 daycares that were willing to accept William, and they hadn't even met him.
The Pikes are in a similar situation with 4-year-old Benjamin. He too has autism and was dismissed from a different daycare this month.
It's a very frustrating situation. I don't know, being told that your son is being let go from daycare because he needs extra support. Very disheartening.
It was shocking because we anticipated that he was going to be there at this daycare until he went to school of next summer, right at the end of next summer. So we were like, this is not the way. And we've been there for like 4 years at this point, right?
They're facing the same uphill battle Parsons Lomatang is. Daycare isn't easy to find, and there's no easy solution.
We both work full-time jobs. I work mornings, my wife works evenings. It's not like we also have a lot of family around. Both my parents work full-time. So in the meantime, it's just, make do with just us.
They too say their son blossomed at daycare and worry about a loss of socialization.
And his speech while he was there has grown immensely.
The Pikes are frustrated, and they say the situation feels like discrimination.
The government decided to do a $10 daycare, which we thought at the time was great. But it just seems like it's just left the whole industry in shambles.
Why are they being ignored, right? It's not good enough.
Meanwhile, both families have contacted their MP and MHAs. Parsons Lomatang also feels the situation is discriminatory. She's asked Health and Education Ministers, the Premier's office, and the Human Rights Commission for help.
But now we are left in a predicament after reaching out to everyone that we thought we could reach out to every leader that we thought could help us, to know that we have to make the decision because we hit a roadblock and now it's a dead end.
And I say it's a crisis. That's a word we don't use lightly. It is definitely a crisis in our community.
Leah Farrell is an advocacy coordinator with the province's Autism Society. She says these two families aren't alone, with many other children facing daycare dismissals too.
They're only the people that we've actually heard from that have reached out to us. I know that some families are trying to get through the day to day, and they don't have the capacity to necessarily reach out to us and to have these big conversations.
The problem, according to one child care industry worker, dates back to 2017. That's when the provincial government changed the laws requiring people working at registered daycares to upgrade their education and become, at minimum, a level 1 early childhood educator. Education Minister John Haggie refused interview requests, but a spokesperson for his department says they gave workers 5 years to upgrade their education, and there was financial assistance to do so. The department also says that upgrading increases the quality of childcare and promotes professionalization in the sector. But ECE Trista Wells says some people don't want to upgrade. At one time, she says daycares could hire retired teachers, social work students, or others who passed first aid and background checks to work as inclusion workers. Now they have to be ECEs, which are in short supply, causing the cancellation of inclusion support programs for kids with exceptionalities like William and Benjamin.
And it leads us to having to use our inclusion supports as regular staff and ratio, which is leaving our children without the support that they need to be able to participate meaningfully in the program. And at the end of the day, when we're unable to meet the children's needs and to help support them, we have no choice but to dismiss their spaces, and it's not fair to them.
Yeah, it's crippling. It's heartbreaking, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody.
Heather Gillis, CBC News, St. John's.